So this is going to be a small tutorial on an absolute fundamental beginner skill. This is how to tune your ukulele. So this is absolutely the first thing you have to do. Every time you pick up the instrument, you have to make sure that it's in tune. So how can you tell if yours is in tune? Basically, does it sound like this? If it sounds significantly different to that, then it's out of tune. Okay, so the way that most people tune their ukuleles nowadays is to use one of two things. You can either use a clip-on tuner like this, which clips on, and you turn it on and it shows you what's going on, or they use their phone and use an app. So if you're going to use the phone, you can download free ukulele tuner apps. There's several of them out there. Some of them are okay. Mixed results with them. They basically use the microphone to listen to the sound of the instrument. So they can be a little bit inaccurate and they're not useful in a loud environment. If you're at home and there's no sounds around, it's fine. You can use one of them. And yeah, it'll work in a pinch. But at some point in time, you probably want to invest in getting a clip-on tuner. You can get them online for as little as like €3, I think. But most of the ones in the shops would be about €15. And the way they work, there's a few different designs. This one's actually kind of funky looking. But the way they usually work is that they have a little jaw. And it opens up like that. And you clip it onto the headstock. So this part of the uke. You clip it on. And then they'll all have some kind of power button usually. Well, if they're electronic. They'll have a power button, so you turn it on. And this one kind of lights up like Knight Rider. Okay. So once they're on, they're going to have some way of showing you low to high pitch sound. It's usually left to right, but sometimes down and up, but they're both showing the same thing. Most of them have kind of they work kind of like the speedometer on a car. So this would be low, and kind of a needle would go up like this, and this would be high. So low, 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 high, 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 high. Okay, and usually there'd be a note in the middle, and it's up to you to lower or heighten the pitch. So do 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 do, and you're meant to like lower or heighten it until it gets to the middle and it's in tune. And oftentimes they'll actually like light up a different color when they're in tune in the middle, and it says yes, that is now a note. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like. My one's a little bit funky looking. Here, I'll actually move in closer so you can see okay. So let's have a look at this guy. So when I hit the string, it hears it, and it's going to show you is it low, is it high, and also what the note is. So the string that I'm hitting here is called a G string, so it should make a G note when I hit it. And let's see. Yep, so you can see here it says G. Now on my one, the green is where it's supposed to be, and the blue is where it is now. So they're pretty much in line, so that's in tune. But I'm going to knock it out of tune just so you can see. So I lowered it down there, and now you can see the blue is far away from the green. So if I lowered it down, it would keep going down further away. So the thing that I must do is turn this the opposite way, because I want to go up. So if I go the opposite direction, it's going to go up. And see, it's going up closer to the green line. And there you go. It's in tune. Now if I kept going, it would keep going up higher. So this is what an electronic tuner does. It shows you how close you are to the nearest note. Now, if your ukulele is very out of tune, then you're going to have to work with a little bit more information than that. It gets a little bit more complicated. Because, I don't know if you noticed behind me, but there are lots of potential notes. So you could end up tuning your string to some completely other note, not the one that it's supposed to be at. So we're going to go through all that explanation of what that is later on. But just for the moment, I'm going to finish off explaining how to use one of these electronic tuners on the other strings. So far we just did this string, the one that's nearest to me. So when I hit the string, it makes the sound, the tuner hears it, and it shows me. Now, something I want to do is, if I'm brand new to tuning, I'm going to follow that string along all the way to here, the machine head, and I'm going to make sure that I turn that tuning peg. If I'm trying to hit this string, then this is going to be the tuning head that I turn. Now, something that happens quite often to beginners is they think they're going to be affecting this string, but really they've gone to the wrong machine head, and they're hitting it and turning it, and it's not making any difference, and then suddenly, ba-doing, they break a string. So you want to avoid that if possible. And the way you do it is that when you go to tune, just make sure that you're actually turning the right one by following the string along to the machine head and to the tuning head. Now, I've already tuned this G string, so I'm going to move on to the next one. This string. And it goes all the way down to here, and this tuning head. Okay, so if I turn this one clockwise or counterclockwise, it's going to affect the sound of this string. So let's see. I know that this one is supposed to be a C string. We'll get into all that later. Just take my word for it for now. This guy is a C string. And when I hit it, you can see a C note appears. And I'm almost in tune, pretty much, a little bit low. There. So I adjusted it slightly, and now it's in tune. I'm going to check the rest of these strings. So this one here is meant to go all the way up to here, and this one would be an E string. See the E note? A little bit off. Okay. So something that catches people out is they tend to go and they go, where did the note go? What happened? I can't see. What happens is it has to be making sound in order for this to hear and then display anything. So if you're not making sound with the instrument, then the tuner isn't going to show you anything. It's just going to sit there going, mm-hmm. So, it's not, see the way I'm hitting it and I'm letting it ring out. And that's why you're able to see continuous signal here. If I was to do this, like, see, it's gone. And people end up doing this a lot of the time accidentally, sometimes with their hand, they'll go. So just be careful, let it ring out, and that way you're going to get constant signal here, and you're going to see what's going on. Another thing that catches people out is that they tend to hit lots of strings at the same time by accident. So they're trying to tune one string and they go, and that way when there's lots of sounds happening, the tuner just gets confused going, I don't know what string you're talking about, so blah. Okay, so that's another thing that catches people out. Just be careful to only hit one string at a time. Alright, that one looks okay. That was an E string. And the next one is an A string. Makes an A note. And you can see A, and it looks okay. Now, that's the, believe it or not, the short explanation. That's the quick way to tune a ukulele. The other more complicated thing that a lot of videos online won't actually tell you about or explain, because it's a little bit complicated, is that if your ukulele goes quite a bit out of tune, it's actually going to go to a completely different note than the one that it's supposed to be. So there's a couple of concepts that need to be understood in order for this to actually make sense to you. So I just wanted to direct your attention to the screen here. Up on this we have the musical alphabet, and that's basically all of the notes. It's based off the English language alphabet, so that would be, in a basic sense, would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it all starts again. So it would go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you probably noticed that on something like a piano where there's lots and lots of keys in a row. They're just A, B, the white keys will be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just over and over and over again. Now you may have also noticed there's a slightly more information up here than just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we might actually take a look at this now. Right. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A again. But there is also all of this information in between these guys. So in short, the important thing here is this symbol, this little hashtag symbol. This means sharp, and in music, sharp means up one. That's the important thing to remember. So if you were to put that symbol beside a note like A, for example, it would mean up one from A. And these sharp notes, you would probably recognize them as the black keys on a piano. So if you were to go on a piano and start at an A note and then go up one key at a time, you'd get this pattern. You would get A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then it would all begin again with A and continue on. Now the reason I'm going into explaining all of this is because if your ukulele, if one string is a good bit out of tune, if for example a C string, your C string, we showed you that one earlier, if for example your C string got so out of tune that it went low, it went down like do 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 do, say it went low, it could actually drift all the way down to the point where it's a B note, and that would confuse your tuner, and your tuner would actually display a B note, and you could end up tuning that string to a B by accident, and that way it sounds nothing like it's supposed to, right? So the job that we're trying to do here when we tune a ukulele is that we try to tune all of our strings to very particular notes. I'll go through with what they are in a second, but for the moment I just want you to get your head around the idea that if a string goes low, it's going to go down the alphabet to like B, and then it could go as far as A sharp, and then down to A. It could actually go way, way off. Or if you tightened it too much, it could actually go the opposite direction and go too high, and it would go up the alphabet. So C could become C sharp, and maybe D. And if you went far enough, you might actually break a string if you went so high. So those are some things to be mindful of. Right, the next thing I'm going to explain is what notes your strings are actually meant to be tuned to. So, on a ukulele, there are 4 strings. So the one that's nearest to you, this one, the one's nearest to you, would be a G string. And the one that will be one down from that would be a C string. And the one below that would be an E string. And the one below that would be an A string. So each one of those appears somewhere on the musical alphabet because each one is a note. So what we're trying to do when we sit down to tune our ukulele is that we try to make sure that that string is on the correct note, and then we try to get it as accurately as possible to that sound, to that note. So I just want to demonstrate what I was talking about a minute ago visually so you can see it happen. Right, so take for example this string here, this C string. You can see it shows up as C here. Now if I drop it down and I go low, 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 it's going to go all the way down to a B. So watch it. So it could go all the way down to a B. And if I went the opposite direction, so I'm going to bring it up. So there's C, go past C, and it's going to show me C sharp. See that? See the little symbol there? The little hashtag symbol beside the C? That shows that it thinks that it's a C sharp. So if this was a C sharp, I know that would be too high. So I'd have to bring it back down to a C. Okay? So tuners have a couple of functions that might catch you out when you're new to this. I'll just cover them. Some of the very simple ones pretty much have an on and an off button with very little else. Some of them are very complicated with lots of buttons, and some of them are kind of in between. So I could talk about a detailed explanation, but I won't. So I'm just going to keep it relevant to what will catch out a beginner. So this particular one has a power button and then another button. That's quite common to only have two buttons. So the power button turns it off and on, like that. But the power button also has a second function on this. So if you just tap the power button, it's going to change this letter here. Okay? Right. Now, what is this letter? This letter, which is often down a bottom corner of a tuner's display, is a preset cycle. So it's cycling through the different presets for different instruments. So this is a multi-instrumental tuner. So you can use it to tune guitar, bass, violin, lots of instruments. And what the preset does, it listens out for the characteristics of that instrument, or it compares the signal it's getting to that kind of a sound, and what you would be looking for, what kind of information you'd be looking for if you were tuning that instrument. So there's basically two options that are relevant to you if you're looking to tune a ukulele. One of them is ukulele. The other one would be chromatic, and chromatic would be kind of like not really looking for any profile. It's just like basically going like pitch. So chromatic would work and ukulele would work. The other ones may not. So you might actually get a bit of information, or you might just not really get what you're looking for. So that's why it's important to know what presets are and how they work. So I'm just going to cycle through. So if I keep tapping this button, my power button, it's going to cycle through. G, guitar. B would be for bass. V would be for violin. U would be for ukulele. And So if that's what I'm looking for, let's have a look. So it's kind of like the speedometer thing again. This side would be low, that side would be high. You get the idea. It's also telling me, because it's on a ukulele preset, it's also saying G, and it looks like you're trying to tune the 4th string, which I am. And if I was to hit the 3rd string, it says C string, 3rd string, which I am. And the E string, 2nd string, which is correct. And the A string says 1st string, which is correct. So some people do find the ukulele preset to be helpful. So that's something to be mindful of about your tuner, which it probably has. Not all of them, but a lot of them now have that. So there's one other thing that catches people out. There's no real quick way to discuss it. But you see this number, 440. Okay. That means 440 hertz. And that is the concert pitch frequency for the note A. For one of the notes A. Basically, what has been considered to be in tune has changed throughout history. So if you go back in time to a lot of classical musicians, what they considered to be in tune and what they wrote their pieces to sound like sounded a little bit different. So some of them, sometimes you'll get classical music will have information saying at what pitch it was tuned. And the way that you figure that out is you base it off of A. Now, why am I explaining all this? I'm explaining this because your tuner has this function, and one of the 2 buttons on it will change this. So a lot of people end up accidentally putting this number to a different number, and then like if you moved it up, it would be a little bit higher than everything else. So if you're playing with somebody else, you would be out of tune with them. Or if it was lower, you would sound a little bit lower than everybody else. So this is a common thing. A lot of the time for beginners, I wish I could just rip this thing out of tuners, but it's there. So just be careful. If that doesn't say 440, if it says something else, then push the button on the back until it gets to 440 hertz. Like, see that? 441, 442, blah, 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 blah. Keep going until you get to 440. Okay? Concert pitch 440. Yeah, I could obviously talk a lot about tuning, but I'm trying to keep it practical for you guys, for beginners. So I think that's about it. Other things like if you have a ukulele preset, sometimes it doesn't pick up a low G ukulele. So if you have a low G instead of a high G, it might not pick that up. I've encountered that as a problem. Other than that, off the top of my head, I think that's it for tuning. Other than this should be G, this should be C, this should be E, this should be A, and it should sound like this. And you should probably invest in a tuner. Okay, it's been Mark's Ukulele Tips. See you guys later. Bye.